Cleveland and Northeast Ohio has secured a WNBA franchise as part of the expansion. They're going the league from 15 teams to 18 teams. To talk about that and so much more is Nick Barlage, Chief Executive Officer of Rock Entertainment Group. He holds a lot of titles, wears a lot of hats, and I'm sure, Nick, the most exciting one recently is this one with the big announcement yesterday, Nick.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on this morning. We are thrilled to be back in the business of women's professional sports, specifically within the WNBA. And I got to tell you, the reaction over the last 24 hours has been nothing short of remarkable. And a big reason why, at the end of the day, we said the enthusiasm and energy of the people of Northeast Ohio created the foundation for this moment. It has been borne out to be true in the last 24 hours.
Nick, so how does this all come together here? Because it's been rumored for a long time. When did you guys first, make overtures to the WNBA and in fact, bringing a team back to Cleveland?
Yeah, we've been working on it for about 3 years now. And when we started the process, it really was about women's sports in general. We wanted to find a way to diversify our platform, to kind of level the playing field, if you will. We got involved with the Tennis in the Land, the WTA 250 tournament that's here in town. We looked at the NWSL, but the WNBA was always kind of the prime focus for us. And so as we rounded the corner and got ready for the 2024 Women's Final Four, which was just an epic event to be able to host in partnership with the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, we really crystallized our focus on women's professional basketball. And, we submitted our bid this last September officially. And we found out at some point in time in February that we were one of the recipients. And then we found out recently that we were the first recipient of it, beating out cities like Austin and Nashville, which I think is a great sign for Cleveland. We should be very proud of what we've accomplished, today and yesterday by winning this bid. We have just a phenomenal sports city, and it showed itself to be true in this process.
Nick, what is staggering to me is it was just a few years ago when the WNBA decided to really expand their footprint. The Golden State was their city was awarded within a team for $50 million. And it looks like the expansion fees are up to $250 million. We know about the explosion of women's sports in terms of a growth sector. Astronomical right now. Smart, wealthy people are getting involved, not just Dan Gilbert here, but in Philadelphia, Blitzer and Harris getting involved. What does that say about the trajectory of all of this? Because initially, when we had some people detracting, saying it didn't work the first time, how's it going to work this time? I said, look where the money's going. There's some really wealthy, smart individuals that are putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, I will say this, regardless of what's been reported from a financial end, we kind of have this belief that money and numbers, they don't lead, they follow in these situations. And so, and our thesis around this investment is when we still feel like we're very much an early mover, to be the 16th team, you think about the growth of the NBA, right? If this thing gets to 30 teams over time, and then you also think about the regular season, the playoffs, they're as the teams grow, they're going to have to expand those. All of those are greenfield opportunities for us to grow this game, grow the economics of this game. So we actually feel like we're getting in at a deal. And if you look at recently, there's been some minority transactions with the New York Liberty and the Seattle Storm. We're actually walking into something that makes a lot of sense financially. I want to be very clear. That's not why we did it. We did it to inspire the next generation of girls and women here, not just here in Northeast Ohio, but across the great state of Ohio, to really give them a role model set that we feel like our community deserves.
Nick Barlage joining us here on the North Olmsted Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Hotline. Well, you're mentioning the state of Ohio. You mentioned the state of Ohio yesterday. How do you plan to market it? Because Cleveland is a very large metro, and the team is based here. But how do you reach out to Columbus, even Pittsburgh, and some of the other cities that don't have the WNBA?
Yeah, this is the state of Ohio's first professional women's sports team. And so as you think about that, we'd be foolish if we didn't engage Cincinnati, Columbus, to your point, Pittsburgh. This is going to be a regional asset. And it's no different than how we approach the Cavs, quite frankly. When you look at our youth academy, we do youth academy basketball camps and clinics from Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky all the way through to upstate New York. And so for us, this is something that we have figured out. We have poured a lot of infrastructure and resources into. And so we're very excited to take this team across the state and showcase what women's professional sports can do.
You know, obviously, Nick, when people mention WNBA, the first name that comes up every time is Caitlin Clark. And I'm not going to get you in trouble with any kind of tampering or anything like that looking into free agency.
Oh, wow. He can get into trouble now.
In the future. God. Right. I know you probably couldn't have a week ago, but things have changed. But talk to fans here in Northeast Ohio about the viability of this, you know, considering, Caitlin Clark's probably not going to be in the fold in Cleveland, but as a league, this thing, unlike its first iteration when plenty of teams folded, including Cleveland, including Houston, why it truly is different this time around.
Yeah, I just think you're seeing the stickiness of women's professional sports. You know, there was a stat I saw, this was like 3 weeks ago. You know, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese played on a Sunday going up against, I believe it was the Yankees and the Red Sox. They had a higher viewership by 400,000 people. 1.7 million people watched that game to the 1.3 million that watched the Yankees and the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. Put that, just let that sit there for a second, you know? And so as you see this growth happening, this isn't a moment, this is a movement. And so that's something we can't wait to get started with. And if you go back and you study, which we have, the level of talent in the college game and the talent that's coming behind that, this is a generational moment where you're going to see, you know, it's not just about Caitlin and Angel. It's also going to be about Juju Watkins here soon enough, and so many other great women's athletes. And the game, if you spend any time watching the game has this purity to it that we get really excited about. And when you look at like even what the Valkyries have been able to do this year within the WNBA as an expansion franchise, I think the power rankings came out this last week. They were 6th. You know, so this is an opportunity for us to get after this, to compete. As Kobe said yesterday, we're going to put world-class resources around this franchise, and we think we got a real shot to continue to build on the championship caliber culture we have here that, you know, our chairman Dan Gilbert holds us accountable to.
Nick, it is my understanding that people have already reached out about acquiring tickets.
I got to tell you guys, we are over 2,500 deposits. I've already been signed up for in the last 24 hours. So please get out. It's a $28 initial payment. We would love to have your support in this journey. You can go to our website, WNBAcleveland.com, to be able to check it all out. But it is I've been just thrilled with the way the market has responded. I mean, it's put it this way. We've taken a deposit every 3 minutes since we dropped this announcement at 10 a.m. yesterday.
It's staggering because obviously, you know, with the Cavs, we had seen certain moments in time, certain inflection points when you probably had to have a few more operators standing by. And I imagine that was a similar experience yesterday, considering the amount of people that flocked over to the WNBAcleveland.com website. I know I was on it. It's steadily updating it.
Yeah, I mean, I was. You never really know what to expect when you get in these moments. We knew because we have such a great sports city and such a great sports region that the reception was going to be strong, just based on some of the leaks that had happened earlier in the year. But once you're actually in the moment, we had set some goals for what we thought would be great to achieve in the first day, and we blew them out of the water. And so now it's really just about how do we continue to harness this momentum and elevate the growth that we think we can bring to the women's game.
Well, how strategic right now is the WNBA? We talked about staggering the next 3 teams they're adding as part of expansion. I had a chance to talk to Kathy Engelbert, that's the WNBA commissioner, over the course of, you know, the Final Four a few years ago. And I was asking about Cleveland, and she said, look, you know, it's part of the pitch process. Cleveland's going to have to come up with the money. Well, clearly that was not a problem. But how strategic was the league? Why did they think Cleveland now as the first, you know, iteration of this new expansion?
Yeah, when you look at the infrastructure we have, which has been led by Dan's investment in Northeast Ohio, I said this yesterday, you know, when we finish retrofitting the existing practice facility in Independence, when the men's team moves to the Cleveland Clinic Global Peak Performance Center on the riverfront, Dan and the Gilbert family will have invested $1.1 billion in bricks and mortar around sports and entertainment in Northeast Ohio since he purchased the team. In 2028, it'll be 23 years. And so when you think about that, we have the infrastructure. We are ready-made. We have a world-class arena at Rocket Arena. We have now 2 practice facilities. this was a fit that could not have been more pure. And it all starts with, there was actually a video. Dan just crossed 20 years of owning the franchise here. This past March. And there's a video of him from day one. And he said, we're going to make this. And I get chills in the back of my neck when I say this. He goes, we're going to make this and turn this into a world-class organization that's going to compete at the highest of levels. And you're seeing that be played out every single day in what he's delivered for this city and this region. And so for us and for the league, they were literally like, we're ready. Guys, we're ready for a team next year. And then that was their message to us. We have not seen a bid that's this ready-made around the WNBA with the new requirements that are coming ever. And so we were very excited to be able to pursue this. But once again, this is a chess game we've been at for quite a while. And it comes down to investment. It comes down to it comes down to care. And it comes down to passion for this community.
I got one more. How do you go about the process of determining a name for the new team?
It's a great question. We are going to be very thoughtful. Grant Gilbert, who works with us, is actually Dan's oldest son, is going to help us lead this process. It's with our marketing team, led by Chris Kaiser. We have a very thoughtful, thorough process. We're just excited now that we can actually talk about it publicly, fellas, because we've been kind of holding this back. But I think over the next 6 months would be our goal, is to get something out there, give or take, obviously, depending on the process. But we're going to go out. We're going to get fan insights from the marketplace. We're going to survey the heck out of people. We're going to understand where their passions lie. And then we're going to stress test and trial balloon a couple of concepts, a couple of ideas. We want to pay homage to the Rockers past. I want to be very clear about that. But we want something that really sets us up for the future. We think Cleveland's best years are going to be in front of us here over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And we want to make sure we have a brand that aligns with that.
Nick Barlage, CEO, Rock Entertainment, welcoming in the WNBA back to Cleveland where it belongs. Nick, thanks for coming on. And obviously, you'll continue to give us updates. And we look forward to seeing that number grow for season tickets over at WNBAcleveland.com.
Yeah, pump us up a little bit, guys. Every little bit helps. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Nick.